from the other side as well. And of course, we have the full face, which we are going to use in Realview and also in the smile design, which I'm going to do soon. And the retracted full face as well. And there is one cool thing, because here we took the sequence of this patient in the following order. So we took this picture first, then took the retracted, and retracted because it was a little bit off-center. However, if you're going to look now, after this retracted pictures, we always take one more full face. So basically the patient holds the retractors by herself, and then she removes it. And look at the gum here on this picture. She's how much gum she shows. And on this picture, can you see the difference? It's totally a different smile. Basically, all the patients smile a little bit more when you take the retracted picture first, and then afterwards take the smile picture. And this is really important for us, because now we know where the real gum line is. And this is something we actually found out during the making of our book. So if you take the picture in this order, and then you're going to have more gum showing. So what are we going to do with these pictures? Basically, we're going to have the smile design. So this is Dental Desktop for those of you that are not familiar. What you're doing is basically making a new case. So it's going to create a case. And Adam, you have to tell me if you don't see what I'm doing, because I don't see actually what I'm doing myself.
So far, perfect. If something will be off, I'll let you know.
Yeah, awesome. So when you click the new case, you can add a new patient here. So you have the patient information, so you can have ID. So here we can just like 3Shape webinar for the sake of it. You don't have to really write anything more than last name. So I don't know. This is not a lady. I'm going to show the name. So probably what you call it in US, Jane Doe, probably. Yeah. So Jane Doe. And if you want to, you can have the birthday, etc. And here in the email field, you can actually have the patient, if they want, they can send your email, or you can have the doctor send the email to you. And if you send the email, share your email here, so then the patient will actually get the smile design to their phone, and they can download the 3Shape app in the App Store and see the smile design that you made for them. So let's save this patient. Now you just click one tooth, which will be highlighted. And this is an official version I'm working on. So this is not a beta, it's not an alpha, it's just an official version that is out right now.
I'm gonna add just for a second. There is a black stripe covering the screen on the far right. So basically everything above 3Shape from the bottom right, it's kind of covered. So if you will be doing something in a very far right, if you could just explain what kind of functions you're choosing.
Oh, okay. Hold on, then I can, maybe we can do like this. Windows. Okay, can you see everything now?
Yeah, it's like 90%, so it's great. Okay. A little more to the left.
More to the left, like this?
Now it's perfect.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so basically you choose the smile design here, and well, press next. And now you can select your photos. So you can import them by clicking the add button, or you can just do like I'm doing, drag and drop. So you take the face scan, the full face photo, and you take the retracted photo. Those are actually the ones I mostly need here. And actually, these photos are really high definition. I think they're like 17 meg, so a little bit too big for this. So I just drag and drop them. You can also have optional photos, like if you want to save all the case photos in the case, then you can drag and drop as well. Then you click next. And the nice part with the latest version of Smile Design is that it's already put all the dots and outlines for the lips for me. so I don't have to do so much work as I did before. This is actually quite crucial to get the upper lip right, to get a nice smile design and a nice smile simulation. So I'm actually spending a couple of seconds here. Normally, if the lip is nice, if the patient have a nice lip curve, then basically are not doing anything. Then you can, if you need, you can shift the midline like this. Normally, I don't see. I mean, I go for the lip and also the incisal papilla. If we need to shift something a little bit more, then we can do it. And this line is also dependent, of course, on the width between the eyes. Then we press next, and now we're going to align the retracted photo with the full face photo, and you can just set 2 dots. Normally I use the laterals for this because it's really hard to take 2 photos in a row that are perfectly straight, but this one was actually not bad. So you can see there is a little bit of difference, but not so much. And then we press next. And now we come to the Smile Design software. For those of you that haven't worked with the Smile Design software, I will just explain what you have here. So you have the transform tool. This is the tool where you actually can move the smile frame. I can zoom in a little bit so you can see better. Also, you can move it up and down like this. Stretch the teeth if you want, or make the smile curve better or flatter. You can also make the teeth longer and shorter, etc. Then you have the next one is freeform. So if you wanted to just take one of the teeth, for instance, if you want to just move it like a little bit like this, I'm going to exaggerate. You're going to see me work with this later, probably. And you can just basically change the shape of the tooth. You also have the mirror tooth, so you have you can mirror from one side to the other. Like you want perfectly symmetrical case, then you can just take from left to right and make it symmetrical. And then you have the measuring tool as well. And to have the measurement tool working for you, what you're going to do is actually open up your upper jaw scan, which I'm doing here. And this is just a plain tree-shaped 3D viewer. And what I'm normally doing is I'm taking this plane cut, finding a place where I can see the size of one central, and it's 9.009. So we go back to the Smile Design software. Let's turn off all the, let's move all the lines. It's a little bit like this, and then we can put in our measurement. So it's, oops, sorry, wrong button. From here to here, and then you write your actual figure that you got from the Smile Design software. Oh, interesting. This is probably a bug. Nice. Or I just put, oh, okay. So you have to put a comma, not a point, as I did it first time. When doing this, you can have the measurements of the teeth that you're actually designing. So if you're lost in space. So now you can see that she has really long teeth already. It's like 12 millimeters and probably a little bit longer. So a lady with huge teeth. We can turn that off because I'm not going to need it right now. And the measurement tool is actually quite nice if you're going to show your dentist, for instance. So I need to make some gingiva graft here or whatever. So back to the transform tool. We have symmetric design. The symmetric design actually does is that left and right sides move at the same time. If you turn it off, then you can only move one side at a time. Link design makes that you can move like 2 teeth like this, and if you turn it off, then you're only moving 1 tooth at a time. And then we have the smile libraries. Here's quite many smile libraries. Of course, we're going to use the fab libraries as this is the fab smile workflow. Now in the smile design software, you can see the faces actually really big like this. You can also go see the web page, so you have a direct link to the let me turn on this. Normally I don't work with the lines because I like to work a little bit more artistic. So normally what I'm trying to do is if the patients, normally a patient looks in the book together with the doctor, and they tell us what smile they like. And then depending on which case, which smile library they like, then we can show it directly in the face like this. So normally I put on the texture. Let me just jump one step ahead because it's always amber, and I don't know, we have also the textures, but normally I choose the texture already now just to make it a little bit easier for me to choose a smile if I don't have one. And then you can choose within all the libraries like this. And I think we can choose maybe, I don't know, just Maria. I think Maria will work quite nice for this lady. So we choose Maria here, then I turn off the texture again. And now you see, since the smile is quite asymmetric, then we might choose to make it more symmetric, or of course I like to have it a little bit asymmetric and keep it that way. However, we need to fit it to the face as well. So remember, I put the midline, and I can see if I'm following that slightly like this. Then I can turn it off again. And then of course we can choose to make the smile curve correctly. And if you need to make the smile curve a little bit longer on one side, then you can choose to make it, of course, on one side more than the other. And same goes actually for the left and right side. So let's scale that out a little bit more. So I believe we can live with something like this for the moment. And like you see here, we can straighten these a little bit more. Make this a little bit longer. I can adjust the central slightly. Normally, when I'm doing the smile design, I'm always trying to fit within the frame of the original teeth here. Basically, to work minimal invasive, but also to make a realistic approach. Because if I put like a midline shift like this for 4 millimeters, I know I'm not going to be able to do that in my waxup later on. So try to make it as realistic as possible. We can move the teeth individual like this. Maybe we have a little bit too wide tooth. Of course, I'm going to make some minor changes. And I really like work tooth by tooth because it's much easier, and also the actual outlines so much as when you're working with teeth connected. However, sometimes you want to make it a little bit faster depending on the case, and then you can do it also tooth by tooth. And now you see I keep this asymmetry on the laterals because laterals are like more for play than the centrals. If you look, I mean, if you want it really symmetrical, then of course you can do like this. And then you have left and right side completely similar, but for me it looks quite unnatural. So let's change it back with Control Z. So I just undid what I did before. And now we can rotate this a little bit. I know that this girl misses some teeth, so we're going to have a little problem. This one is sticking out, so we can adjust that as well. So when you have done your smile frame, you can make some gingiva correction, or propose it anyway for the doctor, like this. And then we have a little bit more similar length on left and right sides. Maybe we can shorten this for slightly. And lengthen this one. Okay, then we go to the next step. And now you're gonna choose all the textures actually. So I can show you what, because we had a really hard time to make these simulations nice with the existing textures that you had before. And you can see it's like, okay, this one is not that bad, but the other ones are really hard to use. So what we did was actually to take the textures from the fabulous Smiles book. So these are like real textures from real teeth, and now it starts to get really easy to make a really nice simulation. The shadow from lip was a little bit hard here, and we also have new controls. So you can have a super white, maybe like for US style, I don't know, maybe too white already, or we can just try to adapt to the lower, which I normally try to do, which is quite nice. And sometimes if you don't find the correct value or hue, you can always try to change the texture, because the textures are slightly different in color as natural teeth. So you see, we can, like for an older woman, this would be nice with more translucent. And you can also match like different reflections from the flash. But I think that this one will be quite nice. And now we have this part sticking out. This is not so much, but we have some nice tools here. So we can edit this. We can just move it in. And maybe I have something sticking out here as well, a little bit. And we can just move small pieces in the picture. And basically our smile design is ready. There are some tools here which I actually don't use so much. You can use it if you like doing a smile design for one single central maybe, but if you're doing a full smile design like I normally do, I really don't use those so much. And then you can like copy from left and right. So if I drag something here, then basically it's taking the shape from the other side. So if you're going to do a smile design for a single central which is damaged, then you can use this tool. Dynamic copy, so actually where you, I think, you press the shift button and then you can like draw on the other side. So when the simulation is ready, then when you can send this to the patient, and as you see, it's not a big difference, but it's a big difference for a smile anyway. And well, it looks fabulous, of course. So now you can export the photos. Let's go to my webinar case, and then you just press 1 or whatever. And this is, I believe, a really nice feature to show the patient that, okay, you have this crooked teeth, and with some nice veneers, then we can make it a little bit straighter. And most patients, when they see this, they just go, wow. And normally, we actually don't just do this for the patients, but we just send this to the doctor, because when we want to make a plan for ourselves when we start working, and then we send them the smile design. This is our plan. What do you think? Can we go on with this? So let's put the smile design
something in between.
Sure.
There is a request for you to basically mention which button you're clicking. It seems like you're going pretty quickly through the software, and because there might be a lag or a little bit of, let's say,
Okay.
framing. Not everyone
Yep.
can see which button you click. And there's
Okay.
another question: how is it possible to reuse anatomy in case virtual waxup is reductive based on a DSD?
Basically, this anatomy here, you cannot reuse, but on the other hand, you have the fabulous smiles libraries inside the software, so you can quite easy align this to what you've done. And this is what I'm going to do in the waxup here. I have this case, which is the scan of the patient, and this is where we're going to do the waxup, and I'm going to show you the order and how we set it up, and then set up the waxup for you.
So, is there any specific image size that you like to work with? Do you take your photos with a DSLR or even a cell phone?
Normally, if we have the patient here, we get the DSLR, and I believe that most of our customers are taking pictures with a phone. However, the pictures with the phone are, well, it might work, but mostly it doesn't. The most important for the pictures is really that you get it from straight forward. And so you get pictures with both ears, the same amount of show on both ears. Then you can make a realistic smile design, because if you just take a phone picture, it's if you have a good phone, definitely it's workable. If you have a bad phone, bad picture, then you're gonna have also a bad smile design, of course. More questions?
Well, there's a question if you can do a mock-up based on it. So can you comment out?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do now.
How is the superimposition will look like? So can you actually superimpose?
Yeah.
I guess that you will show this one as well.
Yeah, of course. So the order for a waxup looks basically like this. I know this girl missed the second laterals, or the first, I'm really not sure, but that was after orthodontic treatment where they removed the teeth, and that's why she didn't want to ortho, of course. So this is a digital impression. So object type in the upper right corner is digital impression, and then you choose the teeth you want to do, of course, like this, and choose the temporary on prepared model. And this is what you are using for your digital waxup. Then, of course, you choose the model. Normally, I just choose the unsection model because that's all you need for a temporary, for a diagnostic waxup. Also, you choose the pre-preparation. And the pre-preparation is actually the same scan as the preparation scan is. So if you lack a pre-preparation scan, just and this is useful on teeth in your case, basically. Then we're going to add the photos once more. So here I'm only going to use the, we can use the smile sign, of course, but I'm going to use her natural face and full smile. You can have a lot of pictures. Hopefully it's going to work. You see it where I had problem with this, so it might be a problem today as well. Hopefully it will be solved for the final release, but let's try this anyway. And then we have the, let's see, not the smile frame, but we have the smile design. And this is, so I'm going to use the smile design picture with the outlines. So I'm actually seeing what I'm doing in the software as well. And that came in straight. So maybe we could just, in case, take this original PNG, which is created in the smile design. Probably gonna work better for us. So let's remove those pictures because they're quite big anyway. Okay. And when all the pictures are loaded, then you can press OK. You can also load these pictures in the software, how I normally prefer to do it in here. Because normally when a doctor sends a case, there is preview pictures inside the case already. And those pictures actually prohibit you to import more pictures inside the case. So hopefully you see what I see, and it's a scan of the patient. I'm just going to walk through quite quickly. Hopefully all people here are familiar with the with the Dental Designer software. So we're going to trim the models, of course, because we're going to do models later on. Normally I'm just clearing the splines because it goes much that. I also like to work without the color on because it's easier for me and you don't get so tired in the eyes during the day. The color is mostly used when looking for margins that are not 100%, in my opinion anyway.
So since you're trimming the model, maybe we will add 2 more questions.
Sure, go on.
What kind of camera lens would you recommend for taking pictures for smile design?
Hold on, I have one over here. So what we are using in the lab, and also what Milos is using, is a Tokina Macro 100 AFX Pro, ATX Pro lens, which is why it's really good is because the zoom on the camera itself, the zoom motor is extremely fast. So so you can take the pictures much faster than with my Nikon lens, for instance. So it's a Tokina Macro 100.
Is it possible to use a smile design for lower jaw?
Not yet, but hopefully it will be in the future.
What type of a flash are you using?
In these pictures you saw here, it's studio lights, so it's soft boxes, like 60x90 or octabox. And otherwise I try to use the Nikon RBD flashes, so 2 flashes on the side.
Okay, if the doctor will send the case photos with DME and intraoral scans, will the photos get imported automatically or still need to be imported manually?
That question you have to rephrase, actually.
So is it if the case will be sent from the trios and they will add the photos directly to the case, will the dental system import them automatically?
Oh yeah, it will. If they send it with the case on Communicate, it will. And especially if you don't, I mean, if they upload it and Communicate before you accept the case, and unless you don't change the name on the case, then the photos will be there. If they send it like 3 days later, then it depends on how you used to, how you choose to do the case on the lab, because normally we change order numbers and then Communicate fails to import the photos and we have to import manually. However, if you keep the original name that Communicate creates for you, then it's going to show up in the case later on as well, if you have the Communicate system linked to your dental software, of course. So now here we're going to have now we are in the Smile Composer, and we're going to choose the same library as I chose in the dental system. Sorry, in the Smile Design. Let's just change this, Fab Smiles, and then we have the, where are we? We had the Maria, if I remember right. Where is Maria? Oh, sorry, this one. Here we go. And as you saw here, there is actually a small bug in this beta I'm working on, which they will fix, that the library comes in quite messy. But if you choose the same library, then it comes in perfectly. So if you're going to switch molars or anteriors from different libraries, then I have this problem right now. Probably you don't have it. So now we have the correct smile library that we chose in Smile Design. And now we're going to set up the case once more in Realview. So the pictures are loading, and let's scale this down a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. I will point out those once more. I'm also going to put some extra lines, which I use to see what's the lengths of the right and left sides, which make this easier for me to adjust to the correct length. And then we're gonna use the scissor tool, and we're gonna put the outline on the lips just as we did before. And now we're gonna match the upper jaw with the pre-preparation scan. And here's quite good if you choose the points quite far away. Oh, perfect. That didn't work so good. Every time I'm going to show something on a demo, it didn't work. Okay, hold on. Let's try another picture. See if this one works better. So hopefully we can make this work. Otherwise, we have to report this. No, perfect. That worked better. So at least we can make this one work. Hold on, where am I? Okay. And we can set one more point here. The more points you have, the more accurate actually preparation will fit to the photo as well. See that I was a little bit off here. And you see I'm just adjusting the final placement slightly here. Okay. And since I have the smile frame already here, then we can go ahead and start designing so we don't waste more time on the alignment of photos. I will also show you one more trick here while we're at it. Here in this step, the pencil step, if people don't know it, then what you actually are doing is changing the, let me turn off the picture and just move the full library a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Like this. I'm going to change that probably later on anyway, but just for you to see. Oops, wrong picture. Okay, so I still haven't started designing yet. However, if we put on the texture from the library, then this triangle basically changes the color from it, and you can change the size as well. Sometimes you get really dark teeth, and you want to lighten it up. Then what you can do is take the, like if you have a background or if you have a flash in the eye or the eye whites, you can basically choose whatever white point you want. You can also put the picture on like a shade guide and have the shades beside and have different shades of the teeth as well. I don't use it so much since we have the smile design, but for me it's a good tool to design in the face anyway. So let's turn this off. I can turn Realview off for a second because it's quite resource taking. So now we're starting to design, and the first thing I do with the Smile library is, oops, that was different, sorry, wrong tool. Let's try that again. The first thing I do is try to find the correct size for the teeth. So basically we're trying to adapt the sizes of the central, especially the height and the width. So something like this maybe. That's the first step I'm doing, maybe a little bit wider actually. And you have to, if I'm actually clicking my shortcuts, then just ask me what button I'm clicking here. But this is the global transformation, basically, first of all. And as you see, the molars didn't change, so I have to change those one by one also to a bigger one. Anyway, I'm going to just design for some veneers. I'm not going to use the occlusal surfaces at all. So what I'm always trying to do is I'm trying to use the global transformation tools as much as possible, and the add and remove tools as little as possible. Because now we have these nice libraries, and why destroy them when they're like all natural teeth? Next part is the arc transformation. The short command is W for this. What I'm doing with this one is that you can select by holding down Control and scrolling your mouse wheel, then you can adjust how many teeth you're moving at one time. And this is basically to just make the final placement. These teeth actually fitted quite well on this patient, so not so much placement with the arc transformation. However, I use it quite frequently to get the teeth in the place I want them to be. Next step, of course, is the single tooth movements, and normally I start with one side to use the symmetric design. Now this tooth, as you remember from my photos, where is my photo? Here it is sticking out. So basically I'm going to try to have this central, the number 8, central, to have this as my actually first point of design. So I'm gonna put this tooth just slightly outside of it because I'm trying to work additive. So when the doctor will prepare the teeth, it's still some material added rather than just remove a lot of hard tissue on the teeth, which is not so good for the teeth at all, if it's possible, of course. It's also dependent, of course, what the patient has in mind, because I mean, if the teeth are way outside, then of course we have to do something about it. So like in this case, we're gonna have to do something about the sticking out part, which I'm gonna show you how I'm doing. It's actually quite easy, but let's go back to that a little bit later. Right now we're gonna leave it as is. So now we can see how much we're gonna remove it. So now I've just decided which side to start on, and I will start on this side because this is the more even side without the central sticking out of the wax-up. So I'm just moving tooth by tooth for now. So I'm trying to put it on top of the patient's own teeth as much as possible. As soon as we have placed all the teeth in the correct position, we're going to open up the Smile Design photo. And then we can actually align it to the smile frame and also to the face of the patient and see if it's going to fit well. So this tooth I believe it was also a little bit outside. And the last one. So we're somewhere here. And then when we go to the other side, then I will turn off the symmetric design, because now I'm quite satisfied with this one. So if I have the symmetric design still checked in on this side, then if I have to change a little bit of the length or the width, then I'm going to mess up the other side, which I'm actually quite fond of already. So there is no need to have that checkbox in. I just scale this central slightly, move it out a little bit more. And as you can see, it's all about placement right now. And this is probably where I spend most of the time when doing a wax up. And then we take the premolar. And the molar as well. Okay, so right now we are just place the teeth where it's supposed to go. Now we can open our smile frame. We can make the teeth slightly transparent. So now I can basically see where I need to go. And as you can see, I was slightly too long here. I also probably changed something in the smile frame already in the smile design. So now I'm using the individual morphing, and the short key is F. I have all the short commands on my mouse, so I actually don't even press it on the keyboard. I'm just using the mouse to press them. And yes, I am using a mouse. I'm not using a 3D mouse as some people like to do. I tried it actually a lot, and I'm working much faster with regular mouse and the shortcuts on the keyboard and the mouse itself, because I have 11 buttons on the mouse. So after a while, you get used to where all the short commands are, and then you just like you don't even think what you're doing. And all the designers have in my lab have the same short commands. So if we switch computers, then we always are able to quite easy work with each other's computers, because it's if we had like different short commands on the mouses, it would be like crazy. Okay, so now you see me just place all the teeth within the smile frame, which I designed in the smile design software. And then we are going back to the model and see if this is actually something that is possible or not. And what I'm seeing here is that we are a little bit aggressive on these teeth maybe, so I'm gonna just change those a little bit, because I believe still that teeth have to rule a little bit where the smile goes, rather than just moving teeth for the sake of moving teeth, or grinding teeth for the sake of grinding teeth. So I know we are in quite good position here, but we're going to make some changes. And this is also why I always tell both the patient and the doctor that the smile design is the first plan. And then you have to go into the dental system and make the wax up based on the actual teeth position, and try to make it as close to the smile design, of course, as possible. However, if it means that we have to sacrifice teeth that are virgin, I'm trying to avoid that at all costs. However, the central here will, of course, be sacrificed, but this is a wish from the patient. So now I'm doing the
now I'm going to ask you a question, actually, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
We have actually one question from one of the users that tried using the smile libraries, and it seems like they work quite well, except one place. If you go to individual transformation, especially on this canine,
yeah,
Yeah, the first option, the global transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. Is it this one or maybe yes? So it looks like the annotation points are slightly rotated. I believe that it's was the library built like this? Is it something that maybe we can fix on our side?
That's actually something that Tree Shapes needs to fix on your side, but since when the libraries were built, there was an issue with the Scannet library. So I know that some of them are incorrect, and I know I talked to the developers, and it was supposed to be fixed before release, but it hasn't been done. So if you can actually promote this to the development team, then it would be great.
Absolutely. I mean, since it pops in, it seems like a valid question, and it might trigger, let's say, it would trigger my OCD for sure. I'll try.
Yeah, and I mean, I know about it, and a lot of people have addressed it. I have tried really hard to make developers to fix it in one way or the other. However, it has still not been fixed, probably because other different options in the software were needed to be fixed first.
Well, then we can actually pass it on in here to all of the ones that are attending in here. If you send a feedback report mentioning it, I'm pretty sure that, let's say, the importance of this task will gradually raise very quickly.
Yeah, that's great. So, so people, you heard Adam. Every time you see a fab library out of place, then just make a feedback report. And if we have like 200 feedback reports on it, then it most likely will be fixed quite soon. So now I'm just scaling down from a lingual, as you can see. And here is also something I use the plane cut tool. And normally we can just take away the cut between teeth. Since I'm just going to do additive veneers here, I'm just actually cutting this tooth in half just to make it easier for me to sculpt. And then we cut the molar as well. And then if it cuts on the wrong side, it's actually because it's this side was a little bit bigger. So now I'm just checking the occlusion as well, see where I am. This is a really strange case. So if I never did this case before, just so I didn't train on this. So we didn't make a demo in this case either before. So this is really a live case. So this is what I would do any day on this patient as well. So now this tooth is actually going to be too long, as you can see. And that is also the problem with when you're doing just a smile design, that basically you don't see the opposing teeth always. And then you have to make some changes in the plan because of occlusion, for instance, like we had to do here. So it's really important to make the patient understand that the plan, the smile design is the first plan, it's the first stop. However, we're gonna need to make a wax up for you to actually see if it's gonna work in your mouth or not. And the nice part doing additive wax ups also is that the doctor can actually try this in on the patient at next seating and see if it works for the patient or not. So now here I see that actually we were missing a lot of this tooth, so I have to build it up a little bit. And since we're not going to have time for the full occlusal contact here, I'm just going to show you some more tricks. When you have come this far with your wax up, basically the tooth was slightly long here. Then the next part, of course, is to see where your teeth needs to go on the cervical area. And what I normally do, I put on this cross-section line, So you can see where your waxup is, and then I just try to morph back to the original teeth, unless, of course, we are doing some gingivectomy. If we're doing gingivectomy, then this is really a great tool, for instance, to show to a doctor. Then you just turn off the anatomy, and then you can send a screenshot of this. Okay, doc, we need to make 1 millimeter of a gingivectomy on this tooth, for instance. So, so it's really a good communication tool as well. But normally I just put it almost where the teeth stops, unless we have been asked for something else. So just as well here. So as you can see, I'm trying to avoid using the add and remove tool as much as possible and keep this as much as I can. And then, of course, we have the tooth sticking out here. And what are we going to do about it? Well, you take the load and save scan. So you can take the save, then you press the tooth you actually need. You save the model. We put it in our webinar case. We put it on tooth. If you have multiple teeth now in the 2020, you're going to be able to select different stuff like this. So you can see I'm just holding down control button, and then I can press shift and choose whatever we want to save, basically. And then we jump right back here to the sculpt upper jaw. And now I load the tooth I've just actually exported. And we have it here, tooth, perfect. And now basically what I'm seeing is my tooth on top of the other. Let's turn off the, oh, that didn't work. So now I have my design on top of my model. And now what I can do is I can just make this semi-translucent. And normally I don't like to extracting the full tooth because we'll try to make a nice model on top of this as well later. So I just mark the piece that I'm actually removing. And the software removes it for me. And now I can just sculpt the final piece here with remove on the model. So now when I'm doing my wax-up model later on, then it's going to be, it's going to be without the part sticking out. And then, of course, you jump back to your design. And it takes a couple of seconds for everything to load.
So I'll use this moment to ask you a question while it's loading.
Sure.
It seems like you really like to use the tools to adjust to the teeth in every aspect. And the question was, why not use smart tools to cut your design to the antagonist?
Well, normally the smart tools, I use the smart tools as well, of course. Normally I use them more only on the occlusal parts. Like here, I try to, like if I have these parts left, for instance, we can, I mean, I can show you on this side maybe. Then I try to cut the final part. So normally if I'm doing occlusion, I still have this lines on. And then I have just a small contact point, and then I use the smart tools in the final step like this. So I wouldn't use it for this one because it's wrong in occlusion anyway, so let's remove it at all. But here we have, for instance, a crossbite, and I already messed this one up a little bit. So let's just add some material. And normally I try to leave as small point as possible because the smart tools, I mean, the cut the full part of the tooth, and then you really don't know where it's going to cut, and you also don't know the distance you're gonna to get all over, because when I'm just choosing to put this small contact point, if I take my measurements, then you can see that I have green and yellow everywhere except close to my contact point. So basically I'm trying to do the contact points as small as possible, and then I cut them with either the precise tool or on the mowers, and on the anteriors I normally use the desired distance instead. And basically that's because I really try to focus on the occlusal part as well of the design. Since these are just going to be additional veneers, because if I'm going to do occlusion on this case as well, it will take maybe 30 more minutes to do, and we didn't have time for it. Hope that answers the question.
So there's another one. Can you reduce the facial of number 14? It was very quick to get it. It seems like someone didn't got. How did you reduce it on the facial of 14?
14, which is 14? It's like 8, 9, 10. This one? No?
Looks like it.
Hold on. I'm not so good. It's probably, it's number 8, right? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I don't have 14 teeth. This is probably 14. Is this 14?
That's going to be a great question when we can follow up on that one. But let me put another one in between.
Yeah.
So if in sometimes intro cases bite was scanned wrong and occlusion isn't right, and you realize it just before finishing your DSD case, what do you do? How not to lose the design you did and adjust the bite in a correct position?
Yeah, okay. That's actually in the 2020 software. It's going to be really easy. Since let's remove the design. Since in the 2020 software, you're going to be able to go into a case like this, for instance. Then you're going to be able to, let's do like this. You're going to be able to control, like save the upper, save the lower, and then you create a bite. I hope people can see this. So you save the bite. Let's say this is a new bite. So it's going to save it, and then you open the new case, and then you can reload it or use it as a new bite. What you're going to do is do the anatomy for reuse. I'm not sure if people know the anatomy for reuse trick. I can show it here as well. So normally, if we go to the next step already, I think people are understand the basic functions of how I'm doing the digital wax-ups here. Quite sure no one wants me to show the model builder, or maybe they want, but because there are some new features in it, I'm not sure. However, let's close this case down. If we're doing a new case, normally what I'm doing, let's do just a quick new case here. And I'm going to show you how to use this, because also if the doctor preps, then you can use this as well. So I'm going to just do the two centrals just for fun. Webinar case again, and then we have a digital impression, and we can skip the pre-preparation actually. I'm going to just import the case real quickly here. And we take the upper jaw. And the lower jaw. And what you actually want to do now is open up the cases, both cases in your Explorer window. Hopefully that works. No, come on. Yeah. Okay, that worked. So now here is the new case, and you can see in my window that it only says scan. In the other case, I open up and you find a folder that calls anatomy for elements. So basically what you do is you copy that folder that calls anatomy element from the already designed case, and then you import it to the case where you want to reuse the anatomy. And then I change the name to anatomy for reuse. So what the software now does is actually it looks for this folder called Anatomy for Reuse. And when you come to the design step for this case, then the centrals that I already designed in the first case are going to show up in the new case. So let's quickly jump into the design software or this Smile Composer. I mean, if people have time, we can sit here like 2 more hours and I can show stuff. It's but there's not other things to do anyway when most of you are in quarantine.
Be careful what you ask for, because you might really get flooded with requests.
I mean, we can have one more webinar if people want on some different topic next week, if you have time for it. Okay, so now when you go to the Smile Composer, then you see it loads Smile design from the first case, and this is how I use it. And you can use this for implants, you can use it for preparations, for crowns, for pontics, for whatever. So basically, when you have done the wax up once and then you get a prep scan, you just either you make this bite from the original case and align the prep scan to it, or you import the prep scan, align it here and export it again. Then you get the prep scan in the same position as the crowns as well. And that makes life a little bit easier. Also, just going to show you, because sometimes for some reason this in some versions, especially 19 or 18, I don't remember, then this is not going to load. And as you can see here, you just open up the Smile library and then press the reuse design. So you just click the reuse design and it shows up anyway. And after that, of course, your case is finished and ready to go. So hope that explained that question, how to reuse the design from the waxup. And then we can just open up the other case and build a model, because so you can see the all new cool features that 3Shape is going to release within, I'm not sure, probably next month, if I'm guessing right, for the last couple of years.
So far, the last information that I've heard that it's supposed to be in May. Yeah. I haven't heard about any delays, but since you and plenty of our beta testers are doing plenty of cases, if we will find something crucial, something that will have to be addressed even a few days before release, we will put it on hold and postpone it, just to make sure that the version will be stable. So of course we don't expect let's say people going crazy on the designs these days, because you probably don't get that much flow as usual. But still, as far as I know, so far it's going to be May.
Yeah, and I mean, I just got the latest beta today. I think I installed it like 30 minutes before this webinar, so maybe I'm crazy, I don't know. I know that Kate, yeah, Kate say, I'm not sure if you're brave or crazy, but well, as you can see, it's actually today's date probably, or maybe yesterday's, I'm not sure. I can open it up and see. So this is the new model builder actually, and as you can see here, also my my deleted tooth is imported. So it depends on the situation. Of course, you have to check what you're doing here. Let's see, because I know there was okay, it was okay. I just double checked it because it had a problem. Just in this case, okay, it's okay. Okay. So in the new model builder, you see some new features up here, and I'm just going to explain those for you as well, so you're familiar with it when you actually get 2020 release. So now here, as you can see, here is my design I did in the dental system, and here I can actually choose what to do with the design. So here are different group options. So I can make the original model, then nothing will happen. It will only produce the model here. I can make the merge all the design with the model. So I can decide to merge all of it. I can also cut the model with the design, which is not really good in this option. But when you're, for instance, making a Pontics and you want to cut gingiva, etc., then it's a very useful feature. Also, for instance, if you we are doing a lot of transitional bondings. I'm not sure if everyone is know what it is, but basically it's we're doing a silicone mold for the doctors to inject flowable composites, and the easiest way for them to do it is actually to do every second tooth. So I can choose here, for instance, to have I can here we go. So I can choose to have this every second tooth basically on the model for one of the models like this. And the gray teeth are actually going to be a part of the model, and the white teeth are not going to be a part of the model. And it's quite useful for transitional bonding especially, which is a cool feature because before we had to do it manually. I messed up somewhere here. Let's see. Which tooth is that? 111. Huh. Ah, okay, maybe this one. Yeah, never mind. And then I can just press OK and continue to my model. And so now the final model will going to have every second tooth. And I mean, you can just imagine for yourself what you can use this for. You can add one crown, for instance, on the model. The other one can just be a die. Like, for instance, if you have an old case where the doctor maybe had to, I don't know, he cracked a crown, he lost it, the patient swallowed it or whatever, and you have like still the case and you want to check the contact points and so on, then you can ask Model Builder to connect the other teeth that were in the case. And yeah, so you can do much more flexibility than we're used to in Model Builder in this one. Now this operation sometimes takes quite a while, but Model Builder has never been known for being the fastest of the 3Shape softwares. So while waiting, maybe some other questions came up.
I think it's a good, let's say, timing to allow you to maybe come up with some questions for Przemek, or not questions, but maybe a request for Przemek to what kind of webinar topic you would like to see in the future. Since Przemek offered, and we have it actually recorded, to make some more webinars. If you can send us which topics would you like to see, that would be great. There is a question. Let me just read. I haven't seen it yet, but let's take a look. You just said something about silicone model for a doctor to inject composite. So is it printed silicone model? Can you do it using Model Builder?
Well, no, you cannot do it using Model Builder, but you can actually you can print it. However, normally I use the tray, so the custom trays for it. If you print it, and I use the let me see, EBT material from Asiga. So basically the order then looks like you make the model. Hold on, let's go back to Model Builder like this. So now you can see that every second tooth is now on the waxup, and on the model. And let's just delete this text. Let's make this a little bit faster like this. So now you can see the yellow teeth are the waxup teeth, basically.
So you're not sharing your screen right now?
Oh, sorry. Hold on. I missed that part. Why I'm not sharing? Oh, okay. So now I'm sharing it. Yeah, sorry for that. So now Model Builder is back. But however, so when you make the models in the Model Builder, then you go to the custom tray, which is here. So normally I use the custom tray for this and I set the spacing to 0 and the impression gap to 0. And then what you do is actually import the DCM file for the model, which is found in the scan folder, which is not really ready yet, but it's going to be as soon as model viewer is ready. And I can show you how that works if you want. And then you get every second tooth. You make a tray on top of it, and then you can print it quite easily. Hope that answered that question as well.
So you're printing it some sort of semi-flexible material, or you're just making it pretty thin?
No, well, you can use a clear silicone if you just print a model and use the clear silicone on top of the model, or you can print it in IBT material, immediate bonding trace material, like for Asiga as one. I'm not sure what different options there are on the market, but I'm using the one from Asiga, and it works quite well for me.
So we have a first request for your future webinar.
Okay.
And that's something that I'm personally having let's say a bit of a problem of doing it strictly because I am representing 3Shape and we can't go sometimes beyond the specific borders, but people would like to see some workarounds to help the productivity.
Okay. Okay. So what kind of workarounds do you need? I mean, we're doing workarounds actually not so much today as we did like in the latest couple of years, because with both 19 and 20, it's quite, I mean, the software has been so well developed that today it's quite straightforward. The one we use the most is actually the anatomy for reuse, because we do like probably we're working a lot with aesthetic cases, which are like 70% of what we're doing here, and on those 70% we're doing probably 90% wax ups. So for almost all cases we have a wax up. And when we have the wax up, we reuse the design basically. And also it's the same thing goes for implants, for instance. If we do temporary dentures, etc., then we try to reuse the designs we already made once as much as we can. But definitely, I mean, it's something I could show in a future webinar, of course, definitely.
So there's also a question, which is your favorite printer, and what about the printing lines inside the mold?
Yeah, I mean, for printing these kind of cases, I really like the Asiga, since the Asiga has quite much, what do you call it? I think it's, I forgot the word actually. But they split the pixels anyway, and then you don't have the lines are not so big as in other printers basically, and there will be lines, of course, in the mold, and when the doctor injects it, then you're gonna have lines that he has to polish away. However, normally the doctor needs to polish the composite anyway, since it has an inhibition layer on top, and when he polishes the inhibition layer away, then most of the lines disappear anyway.
So when you're making a wax up, can you check articulation and cusp guidance as well?
Oh, yeah, of course, absolutely.
And we still have the users running on 2018 because of Atlantis libraries.
What? I'm using 2020 and running Atlantis, so don't fear.
I'm not sure if it's sending to central's manufacturing or maybe someone is basically running them at home. I'm not sure what could be the Atlantis setup there.
Yeah, I mean, Atlantis.
I'm also not sure if you wouldn't just changing a design module, would that be something that centralized manufacturing would accept? I mean, it is basically a final version of 2018 if you just change the design module.
Yeah, exactly, and normally, I mean, we have been running Atlantis on beta for like I don't know, since you came up with which design module to send with. and it's really not a problem for us. We send it to both Straumann and to Atlantis, and we haven't found any problem with that. Not sure if other manufacturers accept it or not, but with Straumann and Atlantis, there is no problems.
Oh, so here's another question that I would be a little bit puzzled, but maybe you'll understand it better. Could I ask to show how to make insertion guide for temporaries?
Insertion guide for temporaries.
Maybe it's a positioning guide.
That's I really don't understand that question. So if you can rephrase it, if you can rephrase it, I need more information to understand what she means.
Okay, so I think we're pretty much up to scratch with most of the questions. Some people asked where the recording will be available, so it should be available already tomorrow in the same place where you signed up, so through 3shape.com and through the Learning Hub. But there is a separate tab that is allow you to preview the archived webinars. This one will be in one of them. Yes, you will have to basically re-register. But all of the sessions are recorded over there. Also sessions in different languages. So for all of our users that are, we're still trying to, let's say, build up the hub, and we are also introducing, let's say, our local offices that are making webinars in local languages. So I've noticed that there's already some Spanish. I was running some in Polish. We will have some more in German and other languages around the world. So you are also very welcome to check those if that's something, let's say, that you can benefit from.
Well, so I guess we're done, and I mean, we can have some kind of questions on Facebook, in the Facebook group as well, and see if what people want, if they want a different webinar in a couple of weeks or next week or 2 weeks, and then we can go with that as well.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do is we can basically, we will mute ourselves and stop sharing the video, and we will stay here for another couple of minutes. So if you're feeling, let's say, a little bit shy on asking the questions or getting the answers live, or maybe you'll come up with some questions, let's say we will stay here for a few more minutes to see what you guys are going to be sending. And other than that, we will probably make another poll sometimes on the Facebook. You're probably going to be attacking Przemek on Facebook, sending him messages or requests for that. So we will try to gather it and choose the most popular ones and schedule another webinar sometime soon. So from my side, I would like to thank you very much for joining. Thank you for great questions. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna mute myself up and switch off the video. But I'll keep an eye on your questions. But I will let Przemek, let's say, tackle some of them. So you have a few more minutes on that. Other than that, okay. I'll probably see you on social media. So thank you very much, and have a nice day or evening or whatever time of the day or night you have, and make sure to stay safe and stay healthy.
Yes, thank you, Adam, for joining me, Christopher, sorry, for joining me on this. Really nice, and my pleasure to do this. I will try to answer some of these questions, so I'm just going to scroll down to them, and this is the insertion guide, okay. Okay, how many cases do you guys keep on your 3Shape before backup? And basically, it's I believe we have it on a server, and in our dental manager, we use it for 90 days. That's all we have. After 90 days, the case is deleted from dental manager, but it's still there on the server. So the files are actually never deleted. However, they are not in dental manager. So if a doctor calls us like in 6 months or 2 years or 4 years or whatever, then we have to just re-import the scans and check it out for some reason. Let's see, what do we have more? And thank you very much for attending the questionnaire as well. Let's see here. Sometimes we are asked by a doctor to make an insertion guide for temp tooth. So we are making a waxup, for example, central. I need to give them a guide that they could place my temp as easy as possible. Okay. Well, that's basically, that would also be with this question is actually about temporary. So they want probably, I guess this is like a shell temporary for a central, and the doctor wants to be able to place that shell temporary in the correct position. That would be actually something I would do also like in the tray, so the custom tray. And now with the new model builder, or in the old cases, you just append the design to the model, import it for a tray order, and then you can just do a nice key for it. That should do the trick. Can you share Facebook group name where I can join? It's a tree shape. What's the name of it? It's actually I don't know. I'm there all the time, but I really don't know exactly. I think it's a tree shape study group, right? So let's see, just to be certain. Yeah, tree shape study group it is. Yeah. And also we print at them, of course. Yes, thank you. Any idea when Tree Shape 2020 will be released to the public? And the answer is probably in May, is the best guess. And thank you all guys for attending the webinar. Dobry wieczór, panos. Hope you learn a lot, guys, here. Thank you, guys. I'm new to Tree Shape, wanted to learn something new. Hope you learned something new as well. What will be released in May? Excuse me, it's the 2020 version, the one I was working in, hopefully. So basically, I hope I answered all the questions. I see that still some participants are here. And thank you very much for attending. I mean, if you have any further questions, just send me a PM on Facebook or in the study group. Can you design a custom tray? Yes, I can. It's really fast. I will not do it this time, but you can. You probably can go into the YouTube channel for Tree Shape, where you have a lot of this easy stuff, and look at it. Okay, one more question. Let's be this last one, and then let's take a nap. It's evening for me anyway. When using the copy mirror tool, especially the mirror CAD, I sometimes find that the position isn't always correct into the relation to the original tooth. What affects this position? Well, actually, if you place the model in the occlusion alignment step in the beginning, then it's going to work much better. And then you also have a check button where you just copy the design order or copy the position as well. So thank you guys. Have a really nice evening. Logging out now. Take care.